Hi, this is one of my tales in isolation. This one goes out to David Francis, who wanted to hear the story about the time that I met Brian Sewell. Now, at the time, I was at the Slade School of Fine Art and I was studying a postgrad in theatre design. We had two tutors on the course. We had Peter Snow, who was a very strange character. His biggest fear in life was that one day the bikers he used to hang around with, big Harley Davidson bikers, would find out that he was actually an aesthetic art student tutor. I pointed out that I didn't think many of them would read the Times obituary section to find out that he was actually a tutor at the Slade School of Fine Art. He was also notorious because during my time with the Slade, I only had one real tutorial with him, and that was when he told me that I should possibly sleep with the visiting tutor that we had. He sat me down and he said, so-and-so rather fancies you. I was like, what has that got to do with anything, Peter? He said, I'm not saying sleep with him, he said. I'm just saying lead him on. Could be very useful. I think he's going to be something quite big at Ballet Rumba. The other tutor we had was Nicholas Georgiadis. Now, Nicholas Georgiadis was an international opera designer who very seldom came in. In fact, he'd appear once, like a term or something, and walk in and have a look at your work and go, yes, no, not in blue, and then walk out. Anyway, after 2 years, final exhibition, I wasn't feeling particularly great about the whole thing, I have to admit. And Nicola Georgiadis was looking at my models and designs. And I went up to him and said, hello, how are you, Nicholas? And he said, I don't know who you are. And I said, John? He said, no, silly boy, I know who you are, but I don't know who you are. I look at your work, and it's all so different. It doesn't scream John Knowles. And off he went. So I proceeded to hit the bottle quite quickly because I didn't feel very happy about the evening. And at some point I turned round and there was this rather nicely dressed gentleman staring at my work. So I thought I'd better troll over there and sell my sorry ass. And I went over and this gentleman said, excuse me, are these paintings for sale by any chance? And these were two designs I'd done for young princes in a Shakespeare production, I think it was. I said, yeah. He said, how much would they be? I said, I don't know, 50 quid? And he went, don't be ridiculous. I'll give you £200. Bring them to me when the exhibition ends. Thank you. And off he trolled. Somebody came over and said, was that, were you just talking to Brian Sewell, the art critic? And I went, don't I? He said, well, what does it say on his card? Yeah, sure enough, it said Brian Sewell, the art critic. Anyway, come the end of the exhibition, I troll round to his house, which is a lovely, lovely house behind Harrods. I go inside. It's lined with these amazing, really amazing oil paintings. I mean, just like, oh my God. You know what I mean? I'm standing there with this tat of mine, feeling quite embarrassed, really. And Brian Sewell gives me £200 and says, thank you very much. And as I'm about to leave, I see this picture of John Lydon from the Sex Pistols on the side, and I go, is that from the Sex Pistols over there? He said, yes. I said, oh, how do you know him? He said, in the early days, we used to go shopping together, you know. I remember one occasion, we were walking down Kensington High Street, and I suddenly realised that Johnny has disappeared. I'd found him inside a mother car. He said, at the time he was riding on the rocking horses that they had, and the assistants were trying to remove him, Johnny being one who gave too frequently to the Saxon inflective, you understand. I looked at the scene and it was like the Battle of Taylorburg. You know that piece. Anyway, we dragged him outside, and the next time I saw him he was proceeding to fuck a bollard, as he called it. I shouted at him, Johnny, never mind the bollards. A little while later, of course, there was an album, not a dissimilar name. Well, thank you for coming. And off I trotted. And that was the last time I ever saw Brian Sewell. I often wonder, though, because when Brian died, somebody must have had to empty his house of all his belongings, these amazing oil colour masterpieces, and my rather tawdry pink and blue splashed ink drawings of two very camp young men. I wonder what they made of that then.